Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu rules, written and produced by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Strong language, mature scenes, and mature themes are present in this recording. This actual play is part of the Your Scenario, Your Actual Play series for the Miskatonic Repository and Johnstown Compendium. And now, on to the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your keeper, Keeper Rena, and tonight we are bringing you the first episode of Lights in the Trees, a 1975 scenario by Matt Doc Tracey. Before I introduce my cast, I'd like to say thank you to all of our patrons. We really could not do all of this without you, and if you would like to join us on the Patreon and have extra special delights and delicacies, you can do so at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. Please also join us on YouTube, where you will find videos on demand and all sorts of other delicious delights just for you and your listening ears. So, let us now get to cast introductions. To my right.
Hi, this is James, and I'll be playing Dutch. Recently returned from the war.
And at the end of the table.
Hi, my name is Mare, and I will be playing Flowers, also recently returned from the war.
And last but never least.
Hey, this is Nate, your friend Nate on the Discords. I'm playing the Kid.
All Vietnam vets ready to dive into some deep, horrible terrors beyond that which they have already experienced. All right, so how I'm going to start off this scenario is I am actually going to ask you all some questions about your relationships to each other and your time in the war to kind of set the scene, get an idea of who you are and what you've been dealing with. So the first question I want to ask you, and we'll go in introduction order, is what was your relationship like with Lieutenant Colonel Weber, who was your commanding officer, big, gruff kind of man? How did you relate to him? So, James?
Honestly, me and him never really got along, man. Colonel Weber was always, he always had I swear he had a thing out for me or whatever. I towed the line just like everyone else, and yet, we never saw eye to eye.
So a little bit of friction there. Flowers?
Well, like when I was in school, I was never a good kid, I was never a bad kid. I just kind of got on people's nerves sometimes. It happens. So, going from school, then out of school, and then right into here, it's just like bothering your favorite teacher. You kind of like them, and that's why you do it. But, it's not worth it unless you make their life a little difficult.
Absolutely. And Kid?
Oh, man. Weber scared me. Most everything scared me over there, but Weber was terrifying. He was huge, he was loud, used language that I had never really heard and gotten thrown at me like that before, but in the end, I came home, so I guess I gotta thank him for that. But geez, nightmares about that guy.
Understandably. So the next question is, did you kill anyone while you were in active combat? And what was that like for you afterwards?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember one night we had real heat in the DZ, and the other guys were they were laid out, and they were getting their 40 winks, and I heard this snap in the brush, and I just let loose. And I tell you what, there was like, it was like 3 different guys that were, they were in the brush, boom, done. And, they always said that it was a soldier's duty and that I'd feel really awesome about it at the end, but I didn't really feel that awesome afterwards.
I never really liked to think about it. It was a little easier if you didn't see it. But once it was up close, once you saw them lying there, looking like they were just asleep or something, I tried to do right by them. I would hope they would want to do right by me, right? If I was out there alone in the jungles like that. So, if I could, I'd do my best, close their eyes, lay them straight. So whether it was my bullet or someone else's, Probably, but I hope at least I did right by him in the end.
You know, I did construction before I came in. My dad has a bricklaying company and a swung hammer. And I sort of thought that way when I was over there. It's just a job. You're just doing what you need to do, going through the motions, trying your best. And I didn't, of course, killed. I have no idea how many I might have killed, how many might have contributed, how many I missed. I don't know. All I really think about is Tiger, because I feel like I killed Tiger. Pushed me out of the way, yelled at me, keep my head up. What are you doing? Watch where you're, and then that was it. So the only one I really think about is my buddy.
You had some rough times, all of you, over there in your long, endless days and nights in the war. Now that you've come back, you've been haunted by terrible dreams and nightmares, seeing things maybe that aren't there. Used to call it shell shock, but it seems to have gotten worse recently. How have you been handling it? Have you sought out treatment? Have you been keeping it to yourself? What have you done to deal with all of this cropping up in your life now?
Listen, we had a thing that we had to do over there, and it was we had a job, and yeah, when we came back, people weren't exactly throwing roses at our feet. I mean, yeah, they threw stuff at us, but they didn't throw roses. And sure, it's hard to get a job, but and maybe I've lost a couple of jobs due to fist fights, but these guys with their opinions who weren't over there,
I try to give back. I guess, I don't know. I'm not a bleeding heart, flower throwing type. Perhaps some of the guys back in the crew thought I did. I was drafted, you see, so it's like I wasn't wanting to be there, but when I got there, I did what I had to, did what I was told, came back. So yeah, I'll pass the time, go help out somewhere. I like watching the kids playing at Central Park. Every now and then they'll bring a soccer ball out and just, it's good to kind of run around, kind of seeing some people having a good time. That's what really matters. If that's not what we did it for, then what the hell did we do it for in the first place?
It doesn't take much. Let me say it this way. Once you get told, you don't tell anyone what happened over there, you don't ask for help, and you sure as hell don't let anyone know that you're struggling. So, did I get help? No. Drink a lot. That helps. I tell my dad when he wants to hear, because he's just proud of his boy. War hero came back with a medal. No, once was enough. I learned my lesson. You don't ask for help. You shut up. Keep your head down. You just go forward. Because you try any of that handsy-pansy stuff, you're just going to get hurt. People are going to use that against you.
It was a difficult time for you all over there, but you all bonded in the 5th Battalion as a unit, but the three of you bonded in particular in certain ways. Dutch, how did flowers save your life?
Oh, flowers. I mean, this was, okay, so we were out in the field, we were crossing this rice paddy, and we were out singing, I think it was the Four Tops or something, and Flowers was the only one who had his head on a swivel, all right? And suddenly, he hits me like a freaking linebacker. I hit the water. He hits the water right on top of me. We got hot lead zipping over top of me. It's the only time I've ever been glad to have a guy that close to on top of me. All right. Wow, it was amazing. He was shooting the shit out of it. I mean, he pulled up and he was like the freaking, what do they call him? God of War. The Ares. He was just putting bullets in people. We couldn't even see him. It was amazing.
And Flowers, why do you feel protective over the kid?
I mean, come on. He's the kid. Look at him. I mean, if you see a puppy on the street, you're probably going to at least take it somewhere or give it a T-bone. Right? The growing up where I did, there were a lot of us just kind of roaming the streets as we did. And you always looked out for the little guy. You always looked out for the one who looked the most scared. You didn't want him to feel scared. You didn't want him to feel like, hey, this is it for you, buddy. That's no fun. And I'm all about trying to have a good time. It sucked over there, but, if I could make it suck just a little less, especially for the little guy, that's what I'm after.
And kid, why is Dutch your closest friend in the battalion? How did you get close to Dutch?
So I thought I was doing a pretty good job of hiding how terrified I was all the time, how scared I was all the time. Dutch caught me. I should be able to say this. Dutch caught me crying one day, just sobbing, just weeping, snot face, everything, just like a kid, right? Like they called me, and he didn't even pause. He didn't even stop. There wasn't even that flicker on the face of, oh, geez, I've got to do. He just came right in, sat down, started telling me this weird ass story about, I don't even remember what, but there was nothing, no judgment, no, he didn't make fun of me, nothing. And that was maybe the first time I really understood what that brotherhood was about, what that teamwork was about, what being part of this crew. We were all out there, and any of us, we were killing or we were going to get killed, or you didn't know. That's the first time I really understood what that meant. And after that, man, if his shoes were dirty and he needed them clean, I'd be over there. He needed dry socks, I'm there. Needs an extra clip, I'm there. I'd do anything for that guy. Anything.
You haven't seen each other really since you got back from the war, dealing with your own demons, your own traumas, perhaps not wanting reminders. But on this chilly, drizzly night in 1975, you find yourself outside the Angel's Share bar in New York City. There's trash scattered around the streets. The drizzle seems to somehow soak into your clothing even more than a regular rain would. There's graffiti on the walls all around you. And you're standing here, staring at the door, knowing you've all been brought here for a common purpose. And as the first of you puts your hand on the door, everything just sort of fades for a moment. The rain washes away. The cold darkness soaks itself into the sky. And we find ourselves sitting in a Huey helicopter, 1969. Loud sounds of your helicopter, others around you as well, carrying your battalion towards the coastline of Vietnam. The sky is lightly tinted with orange. You see the dense tree line ahead of you. The three of you are seated there in your uniforms, carrying your assault rifles, carrying whatever other gear you have. Lieutenant Colonel Weber is seated near the front of the helicopter, his face obscured by shadow and the heavy smoke of his ever-present cigar. The chaplain sits across from you, Roman Catholic priest collar around his neck, holding a crucifix, smiling benevolently, this older man. A medic is seated there alongside of him. Behind you, you can hear the chatter of your fellow battalion members who are in this helicopter. And as you approach your destination, you hear the gruff voice of your commanding officer say, "Well, boys, what will you do when the war is over?"
Find another way to kick commie asses. Hoorah!
Very, very good, soldier. Very good.
All right. I know it sounds typical, but honestly, you're wrong if you say otherwise. But I'm going straight home to my mother, and I'm going to have some of her meatloaf and her beans, and she's going to... and I'm just ready. I'm ready to go back home and see your ma.
Now, Flowers, that sounds good. I'm ready to go home and see your mom, too.
Exactly, and that's why you're not wrong, Dutch.
Good one, Dutch, good one. I'm gonna build houses, Colonel. I'm get myself set up. I'm gonna put some stuff together. Once I'm done taking everything down here.
We'll get you home, kid. We'll get you home. Don't worry, son. We'll get you all home. As he's asking this question, and you hear the buzz all around you, and the helicopter rotor gets louder and louder and louder, and the sun is rising ahead of you. Why don't you describe for the listener what your character looks like in this scene? And do you have any additions to your uniform, allowed or otherwise?
Dutch has an Ace of Spades card that won him a poker game in a little bar when they were on leave, and he has that tucked into the brim of his helmet, and he has in very large, obvious letters on the stock of his rifle has the word kindness etched in, and he's constantly got the blacking under his eyes and is pretty much ready to go. The black, you've probably noticed after a while, has started to really hide some worry lines and such that have kind of crept in, but hoorah.
Flowers has, on his helmet, he ends up having several guitar picks set in along the band there. He's been a bit of the class clown, a bit of the entertainer there. Early on in his deployment, he had a guitar, but during some crazy nights out there, it's no longer in commission. That's something that he really wishes he had. But he's a younger looking kind of dude. He's got skin that is probably a little more weathered due to the packs of cigarettes that he goes through. He is like a chimney. It's almost as if that was hovering around him all the time. He is willfully and almost dutifully letting his hair grow out, towing the line. Before he joined up, he had longer hair, as it was too, the leather jackety kind of guy. So he just always pushes it until someone else, finally they get him down, force a shave on him, and go from there.
Kid is all regulation. Closer cut than he even needs to be. Still has a spray of acne on his cheeks. He's starting to get it back on his neck, and just the humidity and the conditions, he's still breaking out. He's not even 18 yet, so that is something he is very embarrassed about, tries to hide. But I also have a very sort of a bad idea, but my gold money clip that I got from my dad when I turned 16. I have it clipped on the inside of my t-shirt. So it's underneath my dress greens, or my uniform greens, but every so often I think it does probably peek out, and you don't put anything that shines and reflects on your uniform. The Duchess told me that many times, and so does the Colonel, but I figure now it's fine, it's hidden. And I like to keep it close to my heart, and I like the weight. It just reminds me of home, reminds me of everything that I'm gonna get back to once this is all over. My uniform is clean, and at one point it was even pressed, and then I got my ass whooped by the rest of the crew, so I don't try to do that anymore. But I thought that's what you were supposed to do.
We see you all seated there in your various degrees of military readiness. The Colonel has turned away after asking his question, seemingly uninterested now, staring dead ahead. Next to him is Sergeant Brewer. And they talk briefly for a moment, but over the thrum of the rotors, you can't really hear what they're talking about. And then that ceases to matter, whatever their conversation is, because you see the outline of the encampment that will be your home for God knows how long. As the helicopter approaches the tree line, you see tents that have been set up. There's soldiers moving crates around, medics running around carrying God knows what, and you don't even really want to think about that in this moment. You can all give me a spot hidden roll as your helicopter begins to descend.
42 over 40. He's more trying to figure out if he sees a cantina down there other than just a mess hall.
92 over 50. So he's just kind of checking out the sights. Guess what? It's more green, guys. It's green out there. You won't believe it.
And I'm even leaning a little bit out the copter, holding on tight, 31 under 35, just my eyes everywhere, trying to take it all in.
Yeah, kid, you're taking in every bit of this with perhaps some trepidation, a little bit of anxiety. And you see, strangely for the day, the sun is beginning to rise. There's bright lights moving amongst the trees. Maybe they're flashlights, but they're so bright. They glint off the metal, hurt your eyes for a moment, and then they're gone. And the ambient noise fades. The thrum of the helicopter slowly fading away as we find ourselves back outside the Angel's Share bar. 3 of you standing, looking at each other, one hand on the door. The rain soaking into your clothes. The smell of marijuana heavy in the air from somewhere, God knows where. You've all been summoned here by a note, a strange note from Sergeant Brewer. All of you got the same note, maybe compared it when you first showed up, maybe surprised to see each other. And Nate, would you read the handout, please?
Handwritten note, crumpled up paper. Weber's dead. Funeral next week on Long Island. Might go. They're watching me. Probably watching you too. Be careful. We need to talk. No phones. Angel Share Bar, you know the place. Thursday. Meet me there. JB.
You compared notes for a moment and realized you all had the same sort of hint of paranoia, crumpled paper. Paper looks fairly identical, with the cigarette smoke stains, coffee stains on one side, the crumpledness even. But you all are here for the same purpose. You didn't attend the funeral for one reason or another. It was just a couple days ago, but you couldn't make it. Or maybe you didn't want to make it. But for some reason, you decided you needed to come and see Sergeant Brewer. Whatever your own reason is for that. Maybe you're worried about him. Maybe you're just feeling a little bit of nostalgia for the old battalion. Whatever it is, you're here. You open the door. Who's going first?
Dutch opens the door and lets the kid in first.
Oh, Dutch, you're looking great. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Flowers.
Good to see you too, kid.
So, Dutch, you hold the door open. It's a small, deeply crimson door at the bottom of a small set of stairs. The windows you see as you pass in are opaque, covered with grime and graffiti. There's a neon sign that barely blinks, advertising Miller High Life. You hear, as you enter, the roaring siren of an ambulance passing by, someone shouting in the distance. All of that disappears as the door closes behind you. As you are inside, you smell tobacco, overriding that scent of marijuana from outside. It's perhaps a calming or reassuring scent for you, those of you who smoke, and remembering the heavy cigar smoke of your lieutenant colonel from when you were overseas. The bar is brick-walled, filled by a long wooden counter that is nearly hit by the swinging door as you come in. There's a few patrons sitting around, none speaking to each other, enjoying their beverages. There's a few small tables with tattered leather seats, aged from years of use, abuse, and neglect. The wooden floor has a thin cover of sawdust. The whole place has an air of neglect, but cozy neglect in a way, this kind of dive bar. Everyone has this sort of air to them that you recognize. These people here have seen war. They've seen things like what you've seen. And they come here for comfort and silence. Behind the bar is an older man, got the same look about him of an ex-military man. Little bit too old for Nam, maybe the Second World War. He's got well-cropped hair and a very noticeable scar on his left hand. He's polishing a glass with a bar rag. And he looks up and he smiles at you as you come in. Says, "Hey, what can I get you?"
Open me up a tab.
You got it, Dutch.
These fellas drinks are on me tonight.
Oh, come on, Dutch. No, you don't have to do that.
Hey, not a problem. Just remember that, next time we go out to eat.
Kid, Flowers, good to see you.
Hey, yeah, man.
Fills up the drinks. You know that this is Maurice Kozlowski, also known as Mo. Fills up your glasses for you, smiles, goes back to polishing that old glass that appears very dirty and perhaps not something you really want to think about in this particular establishment. But you don't have a whole lot of time to think about it because, as if out of nowhere, Dutch, you feel a heavy hand on your shoulder as Sergeant Brewer's voice says, "Welcome, brothers."
Dutch does his best to steady his now excessively shaking hand on the glass that he's holding, and feigns wiping, feigns that he's scratching his forehead and wipes the quickly accumulating sweat there. Sergeant
Brewer is a tall man. He's fairly unkempt at this point, far from the very well-kept and militarized man that you knew back in the war. He's wearing a stained olive military jacket, jeans. He's got several days' worth of stubble on his face. But he smiles wanly at you. Says, "Good to see you, boys. Good to see you, boys. Come on. Come back with me."
Hey, Sarge, it's good to see you.
Yeah, Sarge.
Good to see you too, kid. Flowers?
And Flowers would like to extend out the cigarette pack that he's got and pulls one out and offers it to Sarge.
The sergeant takes one, nods appreciatively. He lights up. This being 1975, no one cares about all the smoke inside.
Flowers grabs an ashtray off of the bar to take it with them wherever they're going.
You grab an ashtray, and he leads you to the back. He leads you through around the bar to a back room separated by a red curtain adorned with a gilded tie back, which is a little bit strange given the grimy nature of the rest of the bar. You didn't see it when you came in. Those of you who've been here before, you haven't seen this curtain before. This is new. This is something different. He pulls back the curtain, leads you down a set of concrete steps to a metal door that opens up fairly easily. The back room is very, very different from the room you just came from. There's a polished black and white linoleum floor. It's clean smelling in here, replacing the scent of the weed and the heavy tobacco smoke from up above. A light hint of smoke filters in from Flowers and the sergeant's cigarettes, but otherwise it's a refreshingly clean room. There's 3 round tables with leather chairs surrounding them. And the sergeant just walks up to one, sits down, takes a drag of his cigarette, gestures for all of you to sit.
Man, Sarge, is this still Angel's share? This does not look like Mo's style.
I gather it's new. Don't understand the purpose of it, but it's good and quiet for meeting. No one can overhear us in here.
This is a you're hired, you're fired room. This is the kind of room where a guy is hired for something or fired from something. And as we're not standing on a tarp, it's not the third kind.
I was about to say.
What the hell are we doing here, Sarge?
Sit down, boys. I got something to tell you.
I sit down.
You've been having dreams and seeing things lately? He looks at you with this very intense stare and he hunches slightly over his cigarette. Been having the nightmares, boys?
You mean the one where the phosphorus rounds go off and I burn alive? Yeah, I've been having that one since I got back.
And the shadows? Shadows that move?
I haven't seen any walking shadows or anything. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Dutch gets up and walks over to like a further area of the room.
I don't say anything, but I'm just nodding slightly and staring wide-eyed at Sarge.
I mean, everything kind of seemed shadowy then, but it's, I don't know. I figure it's got to be something. What is it? I read about it. They called it shell shock. I guess we all see stuff, it's the kind of stuff can't come back from that. I guess shadowy figures, shotgun shells, the whole deal.
He's shaking his head violently. The more you talk, says, no, this is different. This is not the shell shock. They were experimenting on us or something while we were over there. The Army did this to us, the Marines, the Navy, everybody. They're all behind this. It's a conspiracy. I tell you, they're watching me. They're probably watching all of you too. This is the only place I know for the moment where we're safe. There was some kind of special operation. Remember the special operation, and we were exposed to something, a drug or something that played with our minds, and now we're seeing things and we're hearing things, and I'm seeing things that aren't there, and they did this to us. And he just rants.
Dutch is he has seen, since coming back, and towards the end, I'm sure he has seen a couple of people have the old complete breakdown, as it were. So Dutch is he doesn't want to watch that again, especially from someone like Sarge. So he keeps his back to him and lets Flowers and the kid deal with it, because they deal with all that, talking stuff. Is there a window to the outside in this room?
There's no windows in here.
Okay. So he occupies himself by blandly looking at whatever tchotchkes and whatever is in a corner or away.
Flowers and the kid, you can give me a psychology roll if you're staying and trying to talk to him.
All right. That's 26 under 30 for Flowers.
And I rolled really well, and my psychology is really terrible, so I've failed with a 14 over 10. I'm looking towards Flowers.
Okay.
I mean, the Sarge still outranks me in my mind. I'm not going to counter, but I'm looking a little bit worried. Sarge, Flowers. Flowers,
yeah.
Sounds right,
I got
right?
Flowers pats the kid on the shoulder, like, give me a second.
Yeah, you can tell Flowers just by observing the Sarge. He genuinely believes everything he's spouting at you. This is 100% his belief, this conspiracy, this idea that you were experimented on or exposed to something. He's exhausted, he's worn out, he's frazzled, but he believes this with every fiber of his being.
Yeah, Sarge, they are. I got you. I mean, they were watching us all the time there. Makes sense they're watching us here. We've seen some shit. They don't want us to talk about the shit we've seen.
Yeah, you remember the spec op we went on, right? You remember with the crate that fell from the helicopter, and it had that strange pink mist in it that we all breathed in, and there weren't any VC nearby. It wasn't them. They came from one of our Hueys.
Yeah,
they did. You got to remember this, right? You got to remember this. You were all there.
Yeah, man. Like, they had all sorts of stuff. Between that, it was pink, it was orange, it was the drops, it was all sorts of things. There was definitely something in there.
It was the Flares Flowers, right? I mean, Sarge, yeah. I'm not looking at the Sarge, though. I'm distressed at this breakdown of a senior officer.
But we're here.
Listen, Sarge, we're here. We're listening to you, buddy. But none of us remember your pink mist. They want to help you, but you know what? I'm not going to bullshit you.
You can all give me a hard intelligence roll.
I got an extreme success there.
Okay.
I succeeded, but did not get a hard success.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not get a hard.
Okay. So Flowers, as Dutch is saying, we don't remember this. Sorry, bud. Don't know what you're talking about. You have a vague memory of a special operation. Very vague. Yeah, there was something with retrieving a package, but that's all you remember. You don't remember any details. You don't remember going. If you went on the mission or not, you were given the mission, but did you go? Were you there? What happened? You have no idea, but you do remember there was a special ops mission.
Flowers his face is focused on the Sarge, just kind of searching his face within it. In addition to vaguely kind of remembering, was it a briefing that I read? Was I there? Anything along that? He's also focusing right now on trying to keep Sarge calm. I believe for Flowers, one of the main reasons he was trying to come back home to his mom was because his mom was a little losing it too, had moments like this. So Flowers is predisposed right now to trying to keep this man from dissolving completely. So yeah, man. Yeah, the pink box, stuff in it. It was, how'd that thing turn out? It all goes together for me, you know?
I don't remember. Something happened with the mist. We breathed it in, and it's got to be that. It's got to be that it's making us see things and have these dreams. And I went to the VA,
Mm-hmm.
the Veterans Administration. I went there to see my files and to see if there was anything on this spec op, and my files all redacted, boys. There's heavy black bars all over the place, and they wouldn't talk to me, and they wouldn't tell me what happened. They denied it, but they gave me these pills. They sent me to the doctor, and he gave me these pills, and he pulls out a pill bottle, but you see the label's been all completely scratched off, but he opens it and pours out a couple pills. You see there's some red ones, some blue ones, and they help, but they don't take them away completely. But they're giving me pills, and my file's all redacted, and there's got to be something there, boys. They did this to us. He pulls one of the red pills and swallows it.
Flowers reaches out his hand for the pill bottle. May I?
Sure, Flowers, whatever.
And Flowers is going to try and see if there's, even though the label has been scratched at, he wants to see if there's anything else, perhaps a doctor's name or a clinic or anything that he can get from the file or from the bottle.
There's no doctor's name. That part's been scratched off, and the name of whatever drugs. It's got to be more than one because they're two different colors, right? And why are they in the same bottle? But you do see that it's from the VA hospital here in New York City. That's the only thing that's legible on this label.
He hands the bottle back to Sarge. Yeah, well, you're going to be okay. They're taking care of you. Do the pills help?
They help with the hallucinations a little bit, but not completely. And they can't stop the nightmares. They can't stop. We gotta find out what's happening, boys. And look, and he reaches into his jacket and he pulls out a black and white photograph. It's slightly faded. It's a photograph of your battalion, the 5th Battalion, clearly taken in Vietnam. You can see all of yourselves, all three of you, smiling broadly in the front line of the photograph. You can see the chaplain, you can see the medic. Colonel Weber's there, but it looks like maybe the photo got overexposed or dampened a bit because his face is kind of obscured. It's hard to tell that it's him. You can only tell from the rank and the insignia. You can see Sergeant Brewer standing next to the lieutenant colonel. But Brewer slams this photo into the table, and he points to a soldier standing next to you, Dutch, and says, "Who is he? Who is he?"
Dutch takes a look.
You don't remember this?
Oh,
Oh, let me see, Dutch. I'm good with names. Let me take a look.
Yeah, look, you know him.
Oh, yeah.
He was,
yeah.
You don't recognize him either, kid.
Oh, Flowers, you know, right? Flowers, you know this? You know this guy. You gotta know this guy.
You don't.
Did we have any guys with us from other battalions? No new guys? Can't remember.
You can all give me an int roll. See, you don't know him. Who is he?
Oh, that's a 5. Under 55.
Oh,
Because I got a 94 over 45.
I got a 99 over 60.
it's not a fumble because you have over 50, but that's bad.
That was not good.
Okay, so Flowers and Dutch, you have no idea who this is. You're racking your brains. Like, everyone in this picture's from the 5th Battalion. He has to be a member, right? But you have no clue who he is. But Kid, you start getting memories. They're fractured, as if they're just sort of being pushed into your mind bit by bit. You shook his hand at boot camp. You shared a cigarette with him, your very first cigarette that made you cough and choke. Calling for support in the hail of gunfire in the jungle when you were together on patrol one night. It feels alien to you at first, but then it's almost like the memories are unlocked for you. And Sergeant Brewer is staring directly into your eyes as you're processing this, and he just nods and he says, "You too, huh?"
No, that don't make no... I'm going to get up from my chair, turn around, I just sort of pace. Maybe the same kind of instinct that Dutch had. I'm going to go to the window. There ain't no damn window down here. Turn back around, just stand in my hand on my head. It don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. I remember this guy bummed me my first camel. Who is he?
You got your first from him.
Yeah.
No, look, Tompkins, Sierra, Timms, Albert.
No.
There's O'Connell.
No? How does...
I don't know who the hell that is.
A name comes into your mind. What is that name?
Oh my God. It's Jonesy. Jonesy. How could I forget Jonesy?
Yeah, you too. Yeah. But nobody else. And Brewer looks you intently in the eyes, Kid, and he's got this kind of manic look, and then he suddenly starts, and he looks around, and he hurriedly gets up and he leaves the room, almost in a blind panic.
No, you guys remember Jonesy, right?
Mm.
I'm not crazy.
And that's when you make your sand roll, Kid.
68 under 70.
You're holding on to it. You're holding on, but this is weird.
No, it's shell shock is what this is. Flowers, listen, just calm down. Kid, calm down. That's what this is, okay? We were over there and we lost somebody. Maybe he was only with us a short time, so we don't remember it. Our brains have scabbed it over, okay? Just like a wound, any other kind of wound. That's got to be what this is.
It feels terrible, Dutch, though. I mean, I remember everyone. I thought I remembered everyone. Everyone was important.
War's fucking terrible.
Everyone was important. How come this guy... Come on, Flowers, you got to remember this guy. Come on, tell me.
Look, man, I broke bread and sang songs with almost everyone in that group. And I don't remember this guy. You know that I know these guys. You know that I got their life stories, their dog's first name, or second name if their dogs had that too. But, I don't know this guy. You don't know this guy either, kid.
My memories doesn't make any sense. I know him, but it's like when the film breaks in the theater, and it's like it's chalky. It's pieces. These memories hurt. They hurt my head.
You've been to the VA lately?
Once. The line was so long, the wait was... I turned around, I left.
So you didn't get any of those pills like he had?
No, these... What are those? This looks like candy. Who puts red and blue pills in one bottle? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, well, it sounds to me like maybe we should go over to the VA anyway. Maybe we get you a couple of loose cannons, some tightened screws up here. He kind of Dutch points at his temple.
Brewer didn't look good. I mean, I don't want that to be me. He looked terrible.
Yeah, he did look pretty bad.
But that's not going to be you, kid. We're going to be fine. We just got to keep a cool head about us.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
But y'all are also certain that you don't remember that special ops either.
I remember every op we were on, and not a goddamn one of them seemed that special. But you know what? If I got gaps in my memory, if I don't know something I don't know, I want the docs to poke around and figure it out anyway. So come on, boots up. Let's roll.
All right.
So you all get up and walk out of the room. You see Sergeant Brewer ahead of you as you open the door, fleeing out the front door. But the bar looks different. The patrons filling the seats have disappeared. Those rotting leather seats are now polished leather stools. The sawdust is gone and the floor is impeccably clean. There's no graffiti on the walls. It's bright, it's airy, it's clean. It's the sort of bar that would have the back room you were just in. And that's going to be a sandwich.
Flowers looks behind him at the door and is like, did we come out the right door? Looks at his watch. Is it closing time?
3 under 50.
Okay.
38 under 55.
Hate to do this to you, Keeper. I got a 70 in my sand 70.
All right. So you all managed to rationalize. Maybe you were thinking back to another bar. Maybe, I don't know. Man, you think to yourselves. But yeah, it's fine, right? Mo is still there behind the bar, putting very clean glasses up.
Bar looks good, Mo.
Yeah, always looks good, man.
I want to chase after Brewer. It'll help me get out of this strange situation faster as well, because this is obviously not the same place, but I can't dwell on that right now.
Flowers puts the ashtray back down on one of the tables, looks around at it, but then goes on after the kid to follow Brewer.
Mo looks annoyed that you've put an ashtray down on his very clean counter, but you see him move it and put it under the bar as you move off towards the door. You exit the bar. The door is now a deep blue color. You notice as you exit, go up this small flight of stairs. You see Brewer standing there. He's looking over his shoulder. His leg is tapping as if he's eager to get away. He's shaking a little bit, constantly looking, but he's waiting for you.
Or hold up.
Listen, yeah, you're gonna be fine, Sarge. Just hang on.
Listen, boys, we don't have long. They're watching. They're always watching. But look, you gotta go. You gotta look into it. You gotta go find your records. See if you can find anything else out. Talk to the shrinks. Whatever it is you gotta do to find out. But you gotta know. And he pulls out 3 scraps of paper and shoves one at each of you. And there's a phone number written on it. Keep in touch, okay? I'll see what I can find out. You see what you can find out. We got to get to the bottom of what they're doing to us. But be careful. Be careful, boys.
You too, Sarge.
And he takes off running into the drizzle. He disappears from sight after mere seconds, as if maybe he turned down into an alley.
Dutch, that door was red, right? When you went in, that door was red. I remember it. I was thinking about the movie with the red door.
Yeah, it was red, kid. There's something not right.
I can't be crazy if we're all seeing the same thing, so that makes me feel good.
So it is nighttime. You're not going to be able to hit up the VA or the doctor's office anytime tonight. You'll have to wait for morning. So do you all head to your respective dwellings for the night?
Before I leave, the last thing Brewer said, they're always watching. I'm going to do something that I stopped doing a little bit ago for reasons, and I'm going to peer intently all around me, deep into the shadows, deep into the windows, trying to get a sense of someone who might be watching.
Give me a power roll.
That's not a spot hidden.
No, it is not.
20, 20 under 7. That's a hard, and it could be an extreme with 6 luck.
Up to you, man.
I think this has shaken me enough that, yeah, I'll spend a little bit of extra mental energy and open myself up a little bit briskly to this.
You're looking around and you're shaken up and you're trying to figure out what's happening here. And you're peering very intently into the shadows and you look at the sides of buildings. You see the graffiti everywhere. You see an unhoused person down one alley, curled up in a ball with a blanket draped over them and a dog sitting next to them. And then catch a glint of something metallic on one of the walls. And for you, it's almost like a curtain opens just for a brief moment and you see a shiny metal wall, very different from the brick that this building should be. There's no graffiti on it. It's a brightly lit. And you hear chittering sound. And then you feel cold. And the world spins around you just for a moment. And you blink. And that wall is gone. And I'm going to need a sanity roll from you.
29 under 70.
You lose 1 point of sanity for that. Dutch and Flowers, the kid suddenly starts reeling. Like you can see him almost like he's had too much to drink and he's staggering and his eyes are wide in confusion and shock.
Hey, kid. Hey, you with me?
Hey, keep your shit together, kid. What's going on?
I want to walk over to that wall, put my hand on it. Did you see this though? This was different. This was different a second ago. You didn't. The hell is going on?
It seems like it might be past your bedtime, kid. Come on, let's get you a cab. Let's get you home.
And whatever you saw don't mean nothing.
It's familiar though, Dutch. It reminds me of something. It's on the tip of my. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Flowers. I gotta go to bed.
You gotta go to bed. Go say hi to your mother for me. We'll meet up again. It's all gonna be fine. All right? We'll all meet up at the VA.
Don't say it, Dutch. Don't say it.
Dutch just has a big grin and a little bit of smoke from the cigar leaking out of the corner of his mouth. What? What would I possibly say, kid?
It was still good to see all three of you.
How are the three of y'all getting home? You live in different places. There's the subway, there's taxis.
Dutch is taking the subway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a subway or walking if I'm close.
Flowers is taking the subway.
You're all taking the subway?
Yep.
All right. So you all head towards the subway. You go down the stairs into the subway tunnel. You hear the clank, clank, clank of the metal as it pulls up. You see graffiti all around you on the walls, most of it pure obscenity. There's the smell of piss and other things you don't want to think about lacing the air. Barely anyone else waiting for this particular subway as you're waiting to get home. But the cars clack and clack. The air brake hisses as it suddenly comes to a stop, grinding and screeching in front of you. There's a belch of smoke and the stench of burning oil, rot, and other things. A mechanical voice warns you to stand clear of closing doors as you enter. The car doors close, and the train begins to depart for its next stop. The signals in between the stations slowly blurring together in a slow, single line of light, punctuated by darkness before light again and again. Slowly, the lights begin to move independently, the forceful determination that creates a hypnotic effect. And I need all three of you to make me power rolls.
I rolled a 100.
On the upside, I got an 08 under 50.
Okay.
I got a 19 under 70, so hard success.
Mm-hmm. So we'll deal with the two of you first. So, kid, you get off at your stop. Like, you shake off the lights. Your stop's not that far away. Get off. Dutch, you get off a few stops later. Flowers is kind of sitting on the seats. There's his stop must be much further down the line, sort of a thoughtful, pensive look on his face. But the two of you make it to your respective homes, and you slowly climb up the stairs to your respective walk-ups, exhausted, confused, unsure of what's going on. Kid, you open your door, and you're hit with the smell of dirt, earth, a little hint of decay. Not quite sure what it is until you realize there's a spreading patch of mold on your wall. It's a strange, greenish, blackish looking mold that was not there when you left.
Oh, jeez, what's leaking? And I'll walk over and I'll touch it gently with a finger.
Okay. We'll get to you in a moment. Dutch, you also make it home, and you are greeted with a similar scent of rot and earth and dust as you open the door, and there's a patch of mold spreading across the floor. Greenish black, emitting this earthy scent.
Oh, son of a bitch. I'm gonna have to tell the landlord. Man, fucking crook told me that he re-floored and cleaned. Dutch goes over under the kitchen sink, just casually pulls out some bleach, unscrews the cap, and unceremoniously just kind of dumps it on the mold spot on the floor. Son of a bitch.
So you dump the bleach on the mold and you make your way to bed. You're exhausted. It's been a weird night. Kid and Flowers, on the other hand, you find yourselves in the jungle. The air is thick and humid. You hear the hum of insects and the crunch of brush under your feet. You're on patrol. You recognize the formation, but the uniforms seem unfamiliar. They're not the same 5th Battalion uniforms you were wearing. The insignia is quite different. It's not one you recognize. You don't know these other men around you. They don't look familiar. There's a man who looks like Sergeant Brewer, a lot like him, in fact, but he's got a tattoo on his forearm that doesn't look like anything you've ever seen on Brewer. You also see Jonesy on your other side there. Kid, Jonesy's here. You're carrying your M16s. You're out in a field in the open. You're tactically exposed. And even though it's night, a full, bright moon casts an unnaturally bright light on you. And as you look up, you see not one moon, but 3 chromatic orbs coalescing into one moon before your very eyes. And Kid, I'm going to need a sand roll from you, but Flowers, because you've crit fumbled, you're just going to take the sand loss.
Down by 1, right?
4.
Down by 4. Whew. Ow. Ooh. Okay, thank you.
How'd you do, Kid?
I have nice sand at 69, and so I rolled a 73.
Nice. Okay, so you are going to lose 3 points of sanity, as you do not recognize where you are. Under the glowing light of these chromatic orbs that have now become one into the moon that's more familiar, you see shadowy figures appearing a distance away. You can't tell what they are or who they are, and they quickly duck down into cover. You can both give me spot hidden rolls.
Do I see Flowers in this situation?
You do.
Okay.
You see each other.
I have a 76 over 50.
Okay.
I think I just fumbled it. What's my spot hidden? Yeah, it is 35. 9 over 35.
Okay. So, Flowers, you think you catch the glimpse of what looks like rifles in these shadowy shapes' hands, maybe, but you're not sure. Kid, you're absolutely dead certain these are friendlies. This has to be another patrol that's out. You think you recognize some of the shapes moving. This is definitely a friendly operation.
So I call out, make sure they know that we're friendly so we don't accidentally, like, hey, friendlies. And I put my gun down to the side and take my finger off of it. I don't want anyone hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You sure about that kid?
100%.
As you put your gun down, the leader of the battalion, whoever it is, this person who looks like Sergeant Brewer but isn't, yells, "Fire! Enemy combatants! Soldiers, fire!"
Flowers immediately has his at the ready. It's like, "Kid, get your gun!" And then proceeds to fire off into the darkness at what he believed were the rifles.
The shadowy figures are getting closer. You see them running now, almost. But, kid, you swear they're yelling in English at you. "Hold your fire, hold your fire."
I don't think this is, Flowers, I don't think. And I'm fumbling with the gun and I'm unintentionally, slowly bringing it up and to bear, but I don't think this is right. I don't think this is right. And I'll aim, but I'm still not firing.
Flowers, are you firing?
Absolutely.
Okay, give me a firearms roll.
They're not fumbles, but I got a 79 over 60.
Oh.
Yeah.
You fire, but you don't see any of the shapes go down. There's the sound of gunfire all around you now. Kid, why are your own people firing back at you? They must think that you're the enemy.
Flowers, it's me. And I pull I'm pulling it up, my gun up, and I'm squeezing the trigger, and then I'm yelling. And as I aim and fire, then I close my eyes. But I keep firing.
Which direction are you firing in?
At the shadowy, at the direction that Flowers is firing.
Okay.
Because I trust him. 37 under 50.
Okay. So you're not going to roll damage. You just see one of the shapes scream and then go down as you shoot them in the left side of the chest. Just they drop. You see others dropping around you as well. Flowers, they're still coming.
I'm going at it again. Lock and load. Jesus. That's a 67 over 60.
Do you want to spend the luck or leave it?
Yeah, I'll spend some luck. So that would be 7 to get me down there.
Okay. So you spend the luck. You fire multiple shots and you don't seem to hit anything, and then all of a sudden you get a lucky shot to the head on one of the shapes as it's coming up closer to you. And then you hear a lot of screams and yells in what sounds to you, Flowers, like Vietnamese, and what sounds to you, Kid, like English, as the rest of these shapes that haven't fallen suddenly break off and run into the tree line, completely disappearing from sight. You have only 2 bodies on the ground.
Flowers is gonna approach.
Yeah, me too.
You approach, you see these 2 bodies that are dressed in traditional Vietnamese clothing, only dark to hide them in the shadows. But as you look down at them, still holding your weapons, you see your own faces staring back at you. You feel pain, Kid, in your shoulder. Flowers, you suddenly have a horrible exploding pain in your head. You don't lose any hit points, but you feel this horrific pain as you stare into the terrified faces of yourselves. And that's going to be a sanity roll.
63 under 66.
Okay.
That's going to be a 60 flat over 55. Or I guess 51.
We'll start with the Kid because you passed. You're still going to lose 2 points of sanity. Flowers, you're going to lose 5.
Thank you, Keeper.
You're welcome. It's a gift just for you. But you're not making an intelligence roll for me. As The lights above you become blinding, as if a flashlight is being shown in your eyes, getting more and more intense until it's untenable for you to look around. The droning sound that was ambient noise of insects perhaps becomes louder and louder until it becomes a deafening hum. It sounds slightly like a helicopter, almost. But the pain in your head, your shoulder, the brightness of the light makes you drop your eyes to the ground, and I would like power rolls from both of you.
I have a 47 under 55.
Okay, you passed.
76 over 70.
So on the fail, the humming gets louder and louder and louder, like the rotor of a helicopter, and the air becomes thicker and thicker, and you feel yourself collapse. As you open your eyes, you're greeted by bright open sky. You're lying on your back, a rough canvas stretcher beneath you. A searing pain rips through your body as a doctor restrains you on one arm, injecting you with a large silver needle into your shoulder. There's a burning sensation as whatever fluid this is distributed throughout your body. The din of the hospital gets louder and louder and louder until it suddenly fades to black. We'll come back to you in a moment. On the pass, Flowers, you open your eyes and the bright light is gone, but you find yourself in a sterile room comprised of shiny chrome and strange instruments all around you. There's strange shadowy shapes moving. You can't quite make them out, but you hear chittering noises as they move. One of these forms sees you waking up, sees your head move, and reaches out a claw-like instrument to press a button. And then you realize it's not an instrument, it's a limb. And it pushes the button, and you find yourself sliding back into darkness. And both of you wake up in your respective apartments, completely drenched in sweat, with no idea of how you got there. And that is where we will end this episode. Thank you all for listening. Hope you will tune in next time. Thank you, and good night.